Hello, everybody. Scott Golden with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel here. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. We give reviews of both current and Golden Age wrestling programs. Today we're going to review the AEW Dark program from this past Tuesday, the 4th of August. I can't believe we're already in August. Anyway, really an uneventful program if you look at it from a match standpoint. And honestly, probably the weakest Dark in quite a while. Some for the sake of being stars that I'm not a fan of, others for the sake of putting the wrong people in the wrong place. There's one or two highlights that are worth kind of taking a peek at, but the reality is, I think it's a case of almost having too much talent and not enough to do with them in terms of hierarchy. It's great that AEW is providing independent stars who have no work exposure. However, you have to have a plan for them if it's going to mean anything. And it's obvious that they don't. Anyway, on to the review. Scorpio Sky opens the show this week, defeating Will Hobbs. Hobbs is a 6-foot plus 275-pound guy. Interesting. I mean, he hits a beautiful spine buster, which is hard to deny. Sky recovers, hits a TKO for the win. Great one-sided squash for Sky. Sky has been an underused guy since his victory over Jericho in the early days of Dynamite. It may even been before Dark existed. Post-match, he cuts a promo talking about how he's tired of being on Dark, and that he wants his shot, he wants an opportunity, and this was a great way to start the show. If you follow up with the Dynamite show tonight, it appears he will be getting the TNT Championship match next week, and hopefully, I'd love to see him actually be the one to defeat Cody. I think that would be good for business. Next, we move on to the Gun Club, Billy and Austin Gunn, defeating Aaron Solo and Serpentico. This is Austin's first match back in about 8 months or so, just under. And Serpentico and Solo make quick tags early, and they beat him down for the good majority of the match. Austin Gunn definitely has something, but he doesn't really fire up here. Maybe there's ring rust, maybe he's uninspired. He does sell well. Austin hits a hip toss into a neck breaker for a win. This match went a little longer than it should have. Billy Gunn can still work circles around the majority of people. Match number 3, Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela defeated the Initiative of Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler with Leva Bates. I'm sorry, but Joey Janela does absolutely nothing for me and is being carried by Sonny Kiss, who hasn't even been on television long enough to really be carrying anybody. But in the team, when Kiss is in the ring, I take notice. When Janela's in the ring, I want to go get a snack. Janela goes for a lot of hot moves early, none of which look very good. Kiss tags in, hits a tope suicida into a DDT that looks really devastating and well done. Kiss and Janela continue going through a fast-paced match. Avalon lures Janela into the entrance ramp and threw him into it, giving the Initiative some advantage for a little bit. Unfortunately, for them, this is not enough to get them the win. Janela held up Avalon as Kiss landed on top, and he hits the split move for the finish. And, I mean, Janela is just a guy who, I've heard him speak. He's passionate about the business, but he has no real character to speak of, and his matches are not great. Anyway, it's kind of one of those things that it's just sad to see a guy like Sonny Kiss, who has a character that they could do a lot with, saddled in a tag team that, honestly, if there were people in the crowd outside of Kiss, I don't think anyone would care about. Abaddon defeats Kylan King. I don't get the Abaddon gimmick, quite honestly. King, though, has something, although both of these women are way too green to even be associated with a national product, even if it is an online show. Abaddon makes her entrance, and this is basically the best part of the Abaddon character. King's offense has no effect on her for the vast majority of the match, and then there is a move hit of some derivation that none of the announcers acknowledge, and so, yeah, it was really not good. And I don't know why the need to have women on every show if the women aren't going to be really strong. I am a major supporter of women's wrestling when it's done well, or even moderately well, but this, they would have done better without it. Then the returning Jack Evans with Angelico defeats QT Marshall with Allie. They're returning after one in Evans being unable to travel due to COVID, Marshall having COVID and recovering. Allie is cheering for only the offensive moves of Marshall. Other than that, she doesn't really want to be there, so that's really interesting. She's criticizing him for his mistakes, which obviously shows she's a fair weather flirtation device or girlfriend or whatever she's supposed to be. Evans does slip while hitting a springboard, but recovers okay. Marshall takes control off the slip. Allie enters the ring and argues with the referee, which allows Angelico to kick Marshall in the head. Evans gets a roll-up victory. Honestly, if you're going to go somewhere with this QT Marshall storyline, shouldn't he be winning? Shouldn't Allie still be impressed with him? And then we move on to something that really, at the end of the day, is not something I'm a supporter of, and that is the reality of the situation being the FTR defeating Brian Pillman and Griff Garrison, or Brian Pillman Jr. rather, and Griff Garrison. My issue with the situation is the fact that FTR should not be in throwaway matches. FTR makes their way to the ring. Tully Blanchard's viewed seeing them, and he's excited to be associating and talking with FTR. Blanchard is advising FTR and Sean Spears, maybe. Although Anderson was the one that helped them sign the contract. So maybe somewhere down the road, Anderson and Blanchard fight over FTR in some sort of manager battle. I'm just thinking of where that could go. Good tag team match, but Pillman Jr. deserves more. Having him in a throwaway match is not the best thing for him in terms of, I think he should be signed to a contract in terms of his upside, and putting him in a throwaway match on the Dark Show, probably not the best way to showcase his talents. FTR does hit the Goodnight Express on Garrison for the victory. Then we move on to the main event, and somebody please run me over with a spiked heel. Private Party against the Butcher and the Blade is the main event. Why is FTR not wrestling a different team so that squashing one of the members of the team doesn't hurt anything? And why is FTR not in the main event when, I'm sorry, but the Butcher and the Blade and Private Party have so much to learn about tag team wrestling and the benefits thereof in comparison to FTR that I don't understand the placement of this match. Anyway, Private Party takes advantage early. They hit a series of double team maneuvers that you'd see in any indie show. Butcher and Blade take control and never look back. I will say Butcher and Blade do look like full-grown men, which in a land full of cruiserweights is setting them apart. Tagged Isaiah Cassidy, who runs wild and hits a cutter for a near fall. Quinn and Cassidy were both perched on the top. Butcher, but Quinn pushed off to the floor by Blade, and Cassidy missed a senton. Butcher and Blade hit the full death for the win. So the tag team that was put over the Bucks on the first edition of Dynamite can't beat two guys who, for the most part, have very little storyline development, and although they look like full-grown men, do not look like people who would sell tickets. Again, and this is on an internet show. Like, it's just, what it tells me is there's too many talents of varying degrees, and no one knows how in the AEW locker room to make a pecking order for these different talents. There should be people that are on win streaks. There should be people that are winning, but, you know, they're a little above 50-50, and there should be people that are designated to lose. And if you don't know which category people are supposed to go in, it can create problems for the future. Anyway, that's the AEW Dark review. We'll be back with the women's review and other things. But until then, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.